This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at sorgatronmedia.com. This show is brought to you by IndyWrestling.us and IndyWrestling.network for your independent wrestling entertainment. Just pro wrestling news podcast. No filler, no pop-ups. Production services by Sidekick Media Services. And listeners like you, supporting us at patreon.com/Wrestling Mayhem Show. Hey guys, this is the Indy Mayhem Show, the show where we talk with people in and around independent professional wrestling, and we got one I've been looking forward to for a while. We finally locked it down here for the first interview of 2021. But in the meantime, please go check out everything at IndyWrestling.us and WrestlingMayhemShow.com, where you can find this and other great podcasts in the wrestling world, as well as over at IndyWrestling.us. You'll see a lot of the people we speak with on the show in action, whether it be on VOD, DVD, IndyWrestling.network, however you want to consume your wrestling content. The YouTube page has a lot of it as well. And of course, pertinent to today, Fight Underground on their social medias have a lot of action for you guys, just out there for you to experience and see what's going on there. But my guest for today is somebody who may have yelled at me in the past on certain shows. That's become a point of discussion over in the Wrestling Mayhem Show pages at times. But Big Bang Roni Nicole is on the line with me. How you doing, Roni?
Hello, Sorg. I hope you're going to behave yourself today with all these technical problems we've had in the past.
Which is funny because we did have technical problems while we were setting up this interview. So it's kind of par for the course at this point, isn't it?
Right. Up to your old tricks, as usual. We'll try to make Ronnie look bad. That's fine.
Of course, I know you from Fight Underground. I know you from working with a women's promotion here in Pittsburgh over the last couple of years. But I want to, and I've always heard about your background, with Paul Atlas and Jim LaMotta, of course, on commentary. So I've always wanted to kind of hear that story and chat with you about it. But first, I kind of want to go back. We have a little break the ice thing we do on the show, and I always like to ask, what is your first memory of professional wrestling, or kind of when it kind of hooked you?
Of professional wrestling, absolutely hearing about it in middle school. Now, seeing it was later, but hearing about it in middle school and wondering what all the boys were talking about. And they were very excited, peak middle school energy. And I was in a weird social mix because I was in band, but I was also in dance team and step team and a book. You had to read a bunch of books and then go do a quiz about it. So I was in a lot of different groups, but I wasn't definitely in their group because these were the guys who liked Naruto and stuff, and I wasn't into that at that time. But they were all hype all the time, only on certain days, and I hadn't put it together yet about all these people. And then they came to school with these little cards, and these cards had wrestlers on them, and I was like, what are these? So that was my first kind of, it's tickling at the back of your neck. Something's up, something's cool, but I'm not sure exactly what. There was a young man I dated in middle school, secretly, of course. I was actually, had my mom not passed, I probably wouldn't be allowed to date to this day. We never actually had that talk. But he and I dated in middle school, and he had some older siblings who were kind of into it. So I kept hearing about it in different places. So I guess this was me getting drawn closer. But it wasn't until I saw Monday Night Raw, literally the very first one, that I really was like, oh, I've really been missing out. This is the era of the VHS tape. So at this point, because I'm not allowed to watch TV, I'm getting them recorded poorly with lots of and commercial cut into it, tapes from this kid named John across the street. And I just felt like I had been opened up to something that was really cool and secret, and I really never honestly felt comfortable with that until I started doing it. But, I ramble. Right?
No, no, that's great. That's great. Hey, the show's all about you telling me your story. So, that's awesome. So I love that. I love that you discovered it through like trading cards, like visually. Though, too.
I didn't know what they had, and like at the same time though, there was Magic the Gathering was really popular.
Yeah.
Pog was popular. Now that I realize we were just playing with piles of cardboard, I feel like I'm not sure how I feel about it, but it's not great. Um, um, and like Pokemon cards, so all of these card things were already out, and
Yeah.
everybody got some kind of something. So I was aware of the card culture, so to speak, but I was just like, who are these dudes with these little pants on? And everyone's so colorful. Look at this guy's hat, Macho Man.
Mm-hmm.
And what's this guy with this beefcake? Literally, like So I was just really excited and intrigued, and it just seemed like there was so much that I was missing out on,
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't really figure out how to get in because I mean, middle school is the beginning of the, I guess, stay in your lane.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I never really, other than the kid across the street, and he was a wild boy. He was the first incarnation of Jackass or like CKY or whatever. Like he would try to ride his bike backwards down the street. Like he would like try to drive his remote control cars across the highway before like the cars would. He would like put little things on them so people would freak out, like they would think like a child was going across it. It was insanity, and I'm watching this like out the window. This is so he was kind of my connection, but I never got really immersed in it until I started watching on my own, and then actually got older.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was in my senior year, about to go into college, when I finally was able to consistently, you know, start watching and learning who people were and studying and going back and but because everything in middle school on was a sneak. I wasn't allowed to watch TV. My mom was real strict about that, so it was a real like sneak and like so you can't really get a full storyline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's hard to put everything together if you're not able to consistently be there and watch the full. You know, but I did my best. But I definitely, and I remember Max Moon. I was like, I was like so excited, and Paul Bearer scared me, and I loved Undertaker, and I'm just thinking about like little me and how joyous I felt watching that, and how wrestling has really evolved and changed. But I still feel that like
It's awesome.
surrounded by tiny little seahorses feeling when I think about that.
You're just being like the biggest wrestling fan on the down low, I guess, at that time. What's that?
Secret, secret,
Secret wrestling
right?
fan. So
Yeah.
so this progresses, and obviously you get to a point where were you always like, after you started kind of consuming it, was there always that inkling of I'd love to do this, or did that come kind of down the road?
Oh no, that was immediate.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a Sagittarius, so I kind of have the the quintessential. Oh yeah, I can do anything.
Mm-hmm.
I have no skills to do that, but I absolutely will succeed. I am a brain surgeon. I don't know if you guys knew that, but like, so I instantly was seized by this. I'm going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also a very, if I say something's going to happen, it's usually going to happen. So from a very young age, I knew I would somehow get into wrestling. I just didn't figure out. I didn't know how to figure out how to do that, especially when you're small.
Mm-hmm.
Everything when you're small seems like, oh, you just go to wrestling college or school, or go to the wrestling store, and then you can become a wrestler. So, I didn't really have a lot of awareness of how to get from point A to point B, but I knew that was going to happen. And my idea, literally from the beginning, was being a pterodactyl. Now, seeing Tara Calloway was a big blow for me. Okay, that was a really challenging blow for my life and heart. She's a sweetheart. I love her. Big shout out. But that was sad for me, George. Okay, because I was going full Petrie with it. Okay, I'm not sure if you're familiar, but I was doing a headdress as well as a wingsuit. Okay, and my idea was to perch. Okay,
Was this before?
amazing.
This was before the training. This is like
This was
as
before, and
yes.
this was even after when I started training down in Fayetteville with the first group that I started training with. I told the guy that I told Night Spaghetti Brown that, and he just kind of looked at me like. And so, what is the character? And I said, a pterodactyl. I'm going to terrorize you. You get it? See who I'm referencing here? You get it. And he's like, no, I don't know if that's gonna play. Little did we know that did. And well. Okay? So I just want to say, all that, stop discouraging people because you never know what's gonna pop off. And I could have been the original Petrie pterodactyl. Okay, just want to put that out there. That could have been me.
You're before
Okay,
you're before your time, apparently.
listen, Sorg, I'm a firm believer everything happens for a reason. And then I realized that the upkeep of the wingsuit and the different hats I wanted, that was going to be astronomical. We're talking upwards of $300 to $400 per outfit. Who has that?
We've had good discussions.
Party money. What are we doing?
We've had good discussions with the former DJ Z Walking Wild when he had the light suit he'd come out with, and the maintenance and traveling to wrestling shows with that was just ridiculous.
Yes, because Sorg, packing the car for wrestling shows, that's something I've gotten good at, but initially it was not great. Okay, things were broken left and right. Whatever reason, I wanted a lot of glassware in my early years. I don't know whose kitchen I was trying to stock, but then we get to a place and we've got a box full of just glass shards. Like, this is I learned a lot along the way. Okay, but yeah, I definitely I was either always going to be that pterodactyl, and then at one point I wanted to do like a Madame Laveau like voodoo queen thing, but then you have Nina Monet, and I was like, why just not original? Like, what's happening? Everyone's got my ideas. Guys, it was really not great for me. So, but that's okay because I became Big Bang. Well, I started out. I eventually settled on the She-Hulk of the South because that is very She-Hulk character is very true to me. People who know me know I'm super low key. I don't like a lot of people. I'm kind of introverted. I like to stay in my cottage, drink my wine, read my books, watch my Always Sunny. Keep it chill. I'll turn up if I need to, but I would much prefer to just be in the house icing my knees. So, but the rage, it's fiery and fast. So that was a very astute comparison when I started. I was like, yeah, She-Hulk, but of the South, because trademark, and they'll get you. I bootlegged a Marvel movie one time, Sorg, and it was the last time I bootlegged anything in my life. They emailed AT&T, and AT&T emailed my mother, and she talked to me, and that was 3 conversations I didn't want to have. So, yeah, they take it very seriously. So it's like, no, we'll just do this. So that was cool for a while, but when I went to Japan, they wanted something a little edgier, and they wanted something a little different. So that's where Big Bang Nicole came from, literally going into the crucible of the fires of Japan and emerging as this over the top Godzilla esque creature of the night. So, that was bestowed and truly earned in all senses. But yeah, I always knew I always knew I wanted to be a wrestler once I saw wrestling. I always wanted to be an entertainer. I'm a pageant kid. I was a dancer. Like, I did karate and horseback riding. I sang and I was a model, and I wanted to go to every Disney audition my mom would allow me to go to. Like things were very entertainment based for me because I always loved to entertain. I remember cutting a hole in the top of a tablecloth to turn one of my best friends into a nightingale, and I had written a song about her being a nightingale. And then it was funny because Always Sunny, when they do Birds of War and they do their song, it was very similar because I was still singing about actually just the qualities of a bird, not actually how cool they fly or anything. It was just like about the routines of nightingales and like how many young they had and like
Yeah.
how long their mating was. You know what I mean? And my mom is being very patient and like so about my tablecloth. It was like
So you have all these ideas. You how did you discover how to get to the through wrestling training finally, and how was that experience? Obviously, you've been through a lot of between karate and dancing. I mean that's a couple big physical activities there amongst all the other things you were doing. But how did that kind of translate when you started actually getting into the ring and bumping around?
I didn't discover it; just happened.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. At the time, I was acting, semi-pro cheerleading,
Hmm.
and modeling, and I was doing just entertainment stuff, trying to figure out what I was going to do next. At the time, the whole idea of an influencer was still new, so I knew I wanted to go that route, but
Hmm.
tie entertainment. So I was cheering for the semi pro team here in North Carolina, and the team folded, and I was super upset. And so I was on Craigslist just scrolling through, and it was like athletic females wanted for a long term contract. You could make $200 to $500 per event.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Yes, yes, he had ambition. This guy had ambition. Okay.
That's
And
if anybody knows
yeah,
indie wrestling rates,
listen, I didn't know that, and
yeah,
he
yeah.
didn't either. I'll tell you what, brother. But yeah, and so I was like, and that was way more money than I was already making.
So you're kind of discovering like, and you found this. I'm going to put up finger quotes here. Opportunity, uh,
Yeah,
based on your description. So tell me more about that.
yeah. So this gentleman who wanted to start an all-female wrestling promotion here in North Carolina,
Mm-hmm.
and his idea was that we would wrestle pretty much every weekend, and we would make $200 to $500 per show, and he was going to pay for the training, and it was going to be a select roster of women who would just like cycle through, and they would bring in other people, but he wanted to train the first roster, so he always had talent.
Yeah.
And I was like, great, amazing. Like I wanted to do this my whole life because prior to that, the only things that were available because I got started in the early 2000s, so like or 2010s, excuse me, I'm not 20. But they're like the schools were too spread out. It was like Johnny Rod's up in New York, WA4 in Georgia, Monster Factory, you know, somebody out in Cali,
Mm-hmm.
Booker, and somebody in the Mid South. And that was it. So if you wanted to train, you really needed to be, oh, in Florida, obviously.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to train, you really had to go and like move. And I was like, well, I can't do this right
And he was fronting to send people to these and these are legitimate schools.
now.
That's
Right.
not messing around.
Right. And so like the research that I was doing, it was pretty much like those you had to be there. Like
Yeah.
they weren't gonna just let you come in and drop in. And Johnny Rod to this day hasn't responded to me. Oh no. Hello sir. If you are watching this, I am available. I got those. Like I couldn't relocate. You know, I went to A4 a bunch of times, like early A4. I'm talking way back in the day, back when, Lord Jesus, what was he before he was Apollo Crews? Wuhan Nation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm back. Okay. So you have to either be near these places or be willing to relocate to these places. And at the time, I'm in college. I'm helping my mom take care of my grandparents. Like, that's not an option.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really disappointed because I was like, there's other places, but they did not seem credible. And I didn't learn the term outlaw until I got into wrestling. But let me assure you, they were very proud of the title and wearing the
Mm.
strap. So that, but I knew I needed to do this the right way because I needed to do the obligatory WrestleMania point. So you can't get that doing backyard wrestling. No offense to the backyarders, they do put their bodies on the line as well for significantly less money, but more power to you. Anywho, so I was definitely looking, but I didn't know how. And so when this opportunity came up, I was like, yes! So I met the guy at the mall at the food court because it was like also meeting someone by myself off Craigslist seemed kind of scary, and it wasn't until later that it became scary. So I'm glad I did what I did. You know, that Craigslist murder guy. So I met him at the mall, and he explained that whole thing about wanting to start a promotion for women. He found a place in Fayetteville for all the women to go get trained. He was going to pay for the training. He was going to pick us up, take us there, bring us home. I was like, VIP status. And in my mind, I was like, this is how the Rock did it. This is like exactly. I know it. Like, so I'm so excited, right? So he would always contact us on Wednesday to make sure we were good for Saturday, and then we would have like a little group talk on Friday about what we were going to do, and we would go train Saturday,
Mm-hmm.
Saturday or Sunday, depending because the place, you know, they ran shows. So he would take us down to Fayetteville to Ring, North Carolina, and I was training with Nightstick Eddie Brown and Tony Hang James. And every week it was me, but every week it was me and a different girl. And, well, but also in wrestling, that was like I was the only consistent person because girls would bump or they would see how hard it was, and they would be like, hmm.
Well, this is all stemming from that casting call. So you got like just general just models or girls wanting to be or something like that. So they have like no idea the physicality, right?
No, across the board. There was one girl who was a bartender in Wilmington, and I was so hoping she would do it because she was like a party girl, and at the time I was coming out of my party girl phase, but I definitely would have stayed in for her.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like we would have been an amazing tag team. You know what I mean? It would have been like Jersey Shore meets ODB and Kong. Like, yes. And I was Black Snooki all through college. This was supposed to happen. But now, anyway, she didn't stick around, okay, because she took a bump and smashed her head. And, well, she didn't, I mean, it's not easy,
Mm-hmm.
George, you know?
No.
It's, it's, I think about what, I think about my body now as a 34-year-old woman. And when I started, and I don't even have 10 years in the business, but my body has definitely aged past because of what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I understand why they were very apprehensive and why they were like, if I don't have to, if it's not your passion, you're not going to want to do it. And
Yeah.
that was just it. It wasn't their passion, you know? And so because he couldn't find women consistently and he was starting to see that he was going to have to put a lot more into it than he anticipated, he got a little shady, and so he stopped calling and checking in on Wednesday, and I wouldn't hear from him until like Friday, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we're going, but we can only stay for like an hour," and I'm like, "What? Training is from X amount to X amount. You're crazy." Anyway,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like we're not driving almost 2 hours to stay for 1 hour. That's insanity, dude. So he eventually was like non communicating. And I called Eddie at that time because we had built a rapport, and I was like, so I was told that I can't train with you anymore because it's only me and there's not enough women coming consistently to make it worthwhile. And he was like, I never said that. So my first brush with a shady promoter, many more to come.
Well, at least you learned early. At least you learned early, right?
Yes,
So,
yes.
um,
So long story short, I had to stop training with Eddie.
yeah,
And it was
yeah.
really disappointing because, he was paying for training. He was taking all of the women down there and everything. So I went back to cheerleading, I went back to acting, I went back to modeling, all that. And I was in a movie with a guy who was friends with a local wrestler here in Raleigh. And so he linked me up with C.W. Anderson's cousin who had a training school. And so that's when I got to train with CW and Chili Willie from ECW and Lou Marconi. Um, and it was really, I was really happy just to be back in the ring,
Hmm.
live that wrestling life, again, because it was awful having to take a break, just like it is now.
I have to make a point here because I know a few people listen to this on the audio version, but you have to see. I can't remember the last time I've talked to somebody, and when they talk about this path, and we're just talking about training at this point, and the glow in her eyes when she's talking about this is fantastic. But like they're like, oh yeah, I just killed myself in the ring for a year training, and then the cool stuff happened. You're like, no, this is the cool stuff.
Right. Yes. Like, dude, wrestling is literally one of the last sports that is the oldest sport around.
Hmm.
We are literally in oral history because well, not professional wrestling, but wrestling itself and the art of grappling can be traced to almost every continent and all the way back to Sumerian times. Like, what else is there existing now that has that rich of a culture and rich of a history and touches so many people in so many places and has so many different, iterations of itself?
Hmm.
Like, that's amazing to be a part of that and to share that and to be lucky enough to do what we do. And training, that was, I felt that every time I bumped. I also smashed my head a considerable amount. I was real bad when I started. I was real loosey goosey because I was a dancer. So,
Yeah.
my body was like not not ready for what was asked.
So we talked a little bit about your early career as well, but I want to get back to Japan. Like, how did you get to Japan? Was Japan a goal early on for you?
Oh, absolutely. And that again was the boy across the street, John. He gave me a grainy VHS tape of Aja Kong and Manami Toyota in 1991. And Aja smashed smashed Manami like she was an overripe raspberry. And I was like, I can do that. And that was it. Like I knew not only was I going to be a wrestler, but that's where I wanted to go and wrestle because the style was just so I don't know if guttural. Guttural is not the right word, but like it was just such a more intense style, especially in the '90s and the Gaea days and
Hmm.
the All Japan days. Man, listen. So I was like, yes, 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 yes. This is where I need to be.
Hmm.
So I think honestly, Japan was born out of the goddess realizing that I could not survive as a professional wrestler at that time.
Hmm.
Because I was honestly gonna quit. And I wasn't that far in. So I had made the determination that I was gonna go to one more wrestling show with a wrestler I had been traveling with and seeing at the time. And if things went okay and I spoke with the person who was in charge, then I would not quit. But if I had a terrible time and weird stuff happened, which it had happened a few times before previously at this promotion, I was like, that's it. I'm hanging it up. I'm obviously being told I don't need to do this. And I went and I spoke with Steve Carino because we were at his former school and his former promotion PWF down in Hebert, North Carolina. And He was like, listen, it's always like this. Just let it ride. And I was like, all right, all right, all right. And he was like, maybe Japan would be an option for you. And I was like, what did you say? Well, I mean, if you think that would be something that would be something, yes. So about a week and a half later, I get a call from Deanna and well, an email, and they're saying they want to bring me in for a year. They want to kind of tweak my character. This is kind of what the training's going to be like. This is what the pay is going to be like. Is this, are you cool with this? I was like, I'm already signing it. Like, I don't, like, I've already faxed you guys the signed paper. I don't know why you're faxing me this blank paper again because I've already signed it. I signed it before you said it. And so they sent the paperwork. I got my visa. I waited until 2 weeks before I left to tell my mother. Oh, yeah, that was a bad story. I'm a black Afro-Latina from the South. Okay, we don't take trips. We don't do wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm supposed to be a housewife, a debutante, a doctor, a lawyer, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Popping out babies, making cookies, going saving lives, changing the world. That's what my family would like me to do. I would like to body slam hoes and change the world other ways. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, I'm not calling people hoes. I'm just saying hoes in general because I don't know anyone's name that I would like to body slam at this time. But that wasn't the plan, so I couldn't really give my mom the Iggy or my family at
Yeah.
the time. But the paperwork came through, and that's when I was like, okay, guess what? I'm going to Japan. Okay, bye. So yeah,
But like
got my paperwork.
you literally can't say
Yeah.
no at that point.
I mean, I knew there was nothing they could do at that point,
Mm-hmm.
and that's honestly why I waited, because the answer would have been no.
Mm-hmm.
The answer would have been like, didn't you want to go to seminary school? You could have spent that energy going to nursing school. You could have gone to paralegal or to law school, and you would have been almost halfway done with law school by now. And I'm like, I'm a hospitality management major, business administration, and Japanese studies, and I'm doing nothing with any of that. So what are you talking about? Like, I might as well follow my dream now. I did what you guys wanted, and now I'm going to do what I want. Bye-bye. So
and it's really an extension of your Japanese studies. So in the long run,
that was fated. I really wanted to learn more about their economy and like their business and stuff because I was like, America's not going right with that. No offense, I'm not a patriot, but I'm just saying we're not great at some things. So I wanted to learn like more about that because originally I did want to set up like an international chain of bed and breakfasts. But that was put on hold when I found out you can't have like a strip club in all of them because I wanted that to be an element. And that I'm trying to make money here. I don't care about boobies. I don't care about buttholes. I'm just trying to make money. And you know what always makes money? Shaking butt cheeks. Okay.
I'm putting that together. I'm putting that together in my head how that would work.
You know what I'm doing? No, I'm keeping the brothel element separate because I know that's where everybody's going to go. No. Okay, this is a bed and breakfast with a strip club on the weekend. Okay? We will not, however, be having those ladies staying here, okay, in any other room. I don't have any of that going on here. All right? This is not, no, this isn't Westworld. Y'all are crazy.
Okay. Best Shark Tank pitch ever.
I don't know if they would want me on the show, though, Stork. They'd be like, some of your ideas don't gel. And I'm like,
you'll be fine. Mark Cuban's a wrestling fan, so I mean,
Is he really?
Yeah, that's why at least he's all in on it. Well, I think he still owns Access TV where Impact is, and they had New Japan. So and I think he was, from what I understand, I think he's made commentaries about kind of being behind pro wrestling as a business concept. So like that's why there's always been wrestling on Access, like all the way back to HDNet when they had Ring of Honor in those first televised days for them. So history lesson, I guess. So
you said some old stuff.
And And fun fact, we brought this up on the other show this week. He's from like up the road here in Pittsburgh, so
Really?
for real, Scott Township, I believe. So
I miss PA. I'm not gonna lie. I had a really fun time and an excellent run there. I'm hoping Area 3 will be back in PA.
that's right.
If not, it's fine. But I do. My heart has been in a lot of places in America, but PA is just one place that I definitely will always feel very special about.
Absolutely. Let's talk about that. So again, I ran into you first with the AngelGate promotion that was running here at the time. And became involved with that, or I don't think I attended before I started working with them on that promotion at least. And you were a part of that. Actually, I might have seen you at PWX or Fight Society before that. Now that I think about it. Tell me about that. It was we were talking a little bit before, like just the locker room sounded like it was a pretty great place to be.
Oh yeah, the first year that I was with AngelGate was a loaded locker room. Just
Mhm.
the talent and the caliber of women that came through there was incredible. Just off the top, I'm thinking now, not in the first year, but in the second year that I was there, I had a storyline with Rebel, which was awesome because she's tremendous and amazing.
Right.
Casey Spinelli, Heather Monroe, Shauna Reed, Charlie Cruel. Who else did we have come through there? Holly Dead. Um, gosh, now it took me on the spot.
No, Raylan was a part of that.
Ray Lynn,
Mm-hmm.
yes. Oh my gosh. Like it was just such an amazing melting pot of different characters, different women, different wrestling styles. Um, the cards were always sporadic in terms of you didn't know what type of match you were going to get because everybody did their own thing, but it was a place where everybody that worked because you knew that's what it was going in. AngelGate was definitely a place I feel at one point that was really representative of what women's wrestling can be in terms of letting the women be who they are in the ring and out. It was really a blessing to me to be able to work with some of the women I did. I loved my matches with Casey. I love my matches with Gabby Gilbert.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely a growing and learning experience once I actually got in the office and kind of started learning about booking and how it was done and putting together cards and putting together shows. Big shout out to Quinn Magnum because sitting under his learning tree was definitely wonderful for me so that I could understand and broaden my scope of wrestling, not just historically, but as it pertains to being someone on the business side and learning how to do that other side of it. Being a wrestler for so long, I don't think sometimes we take into account that it is a business and we should always be conducting ourselves as such. But when you're actually working the business side of it, there are things that are different that you have to account for. And there's a sweet spot, but it takes some time to find that. And I feel very grateful to have had a few people within that organization who definitely were working for that goal, always working for wrestling, working for the locker room, really working towards making sure people understood that what we do is sacred and wonderful, and especially when it comes to women, that we always have something to offer. Um, so yeah, I'm sad that the time that I was there was so brief, and then it was kind of like a meteoric rise and a meteoric crash. But I'm very happy because I met a lot of amazing women. I have definitely worked with a lot of amazing and incredible and talented women. And I don't think that had I not been there, I would have encountered some of these people. And it's definitely a testament to PA and the definitely rich wrestling history there because a lot of these people, even though they came from other places, they really added to the fabric of wrestling in PA and especially in McKeesport. So, it'll always have a special place in my heart. Um, you know, what was that place that we would go to eat for?
Oh, Permanis?
Permanis.
Permanis. I gotta say it the Pittsburgh way, the Yinzer way. Permani Brothers with their world
Permani
famous,
Brothers.
world famous
Yeah,
sandwiches.
world famous. It is world. Listen, I I will be an old lady and I will be making my last ride because I've determined that I will somehow dictate the day and time.
Oop.
Oh, I got it though. The day and time that I will pass, right? So I will take one last ride through all the places that I have been, okay? Permani Brothers is on the way.
And I forget about that because especially with those rushes, it wasn't just all the local talent. Like it was you
No.
guys were from all over the place,
Nikki
and
Knuckles. I can't believe I didn't even mention her. All hail. Oh
mm-hmm.
my gosh. And she's like that. I love you.
Oh, fantastic! And of course, the evolution, still with Quinn Magnum at Fight Underground. We had you at Area 1. I know we did the women weren't featured necessarily at Area 2, but looking forward to that coming back around again. That was I don't know, and I don't know what you've been doing during this weird year as far as in the ring action, but I know we experienced you back in June, and that's one of the times where I got yelled at in person. That we mentioned.
Well, Sorg, I need you to keep it together.
I'm
Okay?
trying. I'm
Let's just
trying.
call it how I see it. Okay? So when I see you effing up, I'm just gonna say, okay? There's no disrespect. You know I love you. Love your little scraggly beard. I think you look like a sexy lumberjack. All right? The Sorg family, very close to my bosom. Okay? When you're effing up and you're making me look like a butt, I gotta call you out. Sorry. Okay? What to do? Sorry about that.
Well, there it is. But how was you had a confrontation match? I guess it's hard to call it a match because it really turned into a confrontation with Scarlett there. No audience other than the talent in the production. Basically, that was it. There in that it was a movie studio warehouse we ended up in that for that first one.
And I think all of the talent and the production saw how I was robbed. Okay? Robbed, Sorg. Okay? Who ninja kicked someone in the head? Okay? She better Luke hang it out of here. All right? I don't have time for that. I deserve a fair and functional match. Okay? I don't know what it is with these young guns trying to pull out all the stops and not playing by the rules. There are rules to war. There are rules to engagement, Sorg. Okay? And she engaged me improperly. I was handled badly. I'm going to say that. I was handled badly. Okay? And I demand satisfaction. Okay? Demand it. Okay? Area 3 better have the women. Okay? I'm not going to get into it with how Area 2 was all, y'all had, what's his face, smashing into chairs. You could have had a women's match. Okay? To rebuild the credibility of the Virago division. Okay? Because what I see is there's being too much emphasis put on sausage and not enough emphasis being put on the queen clam who was wrongly cast out of the sea. Okay? I know that ocean reference went left. I don't care. I said what I said. I was handled badly, Sorg. You saw it, okay? And you were part of it, okay? Because you were trying to engage me when my eyebrows were melting off and she was breathing at me, not even responding to the things I had to say, okay? And now we're going into Area 3 with what? A bunch of new stinking butts and no retribution for Roni Nicole? It's 2021. Y'all crazy. Y'all crazy. Okay? You know where I reside? Where the money resides and where success resides. And Fight Underground is blocking me from success. And Sorg, if I find out that you were in on any of this, so help me. So help me. Okay? You won't do this to me again. All right? I let you get away with it at AngelGate, okay, because you had an upside down bowling pin protecting you from retribution. Okay? But guess what? There's not a skinny leg bowling pin protecting you now because Quinn Magnum knows I'll bite him right on the penis and I'll bite anybody else who gets in my way. All right? Snapping Turtle Ron is back with a vengeance. I demand satisfaction. I will be satisfied.
Well, we'll be forwarding this to the fight director and making sure you get your justice there. In the meantime, if we can simmer down for a moment, and I like to ask with just one more quick question, and then we can let you go. So I like to ask, what is the best and worst thing about pro wrestling for you?
Oh, you know what? The best thing about pro wrestling is the wrestling. It's the wrestling itself. It's the tying of the history together. It is the bringing together of people from all walks of life to share, to enjoy, to either participate in or witness the storytelling that we create in the ring. That's the best part of wrestling. The worst part of wrestling is the butthead. It is the people who think that wrestling owes them something, that they can come into the business and still do it the old carny circus way,
Yeah.
that they think their little bit of fame on Instagram or Twitter translates into being a terrible person or abusing privileges or rights or, a literal abuse. Like, that's the worst part of wrestling. And I think, unfortunately, we have such a beautiful art that has always been juxtaposed against this real darkness and this real shady undertow. And I just hope that in 2021 that we can stand on what we said in 2020, in 2019, in 2018, in 2017, and make these changes that will make wrestling better for everyone. You know, I don't think that all of the veterans that I've encountered in my life are bitter, but I do think some bitterness comes from not seeing those changes, from seeing things be done the same way, from seeing people who are problematic or literally dangerous or baby rapers or, disappear people's bodies into the swamp. Uh, that they're still running promotions or training children or
Mm-hmm.
around children, around minors.
Mm-hmm.
And we continue. And I say we because it is our community to police and protect. If that's what we're going to do, then that's what we're going to do. But if that's not what we're going to do, then we need to make some changes so that this can actually be a safe place for people because it's not just our business, it's everyone's business at this point. And we didn't do that. We didn't expose it. So we have to play by what has been given to us. Yes, people know what's going on, which means we need to be held accountable for what's going on, especially those of us who aren't walking the right path, so to speak. So that's the bad part. The good part is always evolving, though. The good part is always changing. The good part is Fight Underground, changing the way that wrestling is being viewed and done on the independent scene. They've only done two areas and still have been able to produce content for what, almost a year and some change.
I think we started. Well, we recorded first in June, but I think
June.
we
Yeah,
were
so
obviously
almost
created
a
some.
year.
Yeah. So
So coming up this summer, it will be 1 year and still going strong, still producing engaging content. There are other great promotions that are abiding by COVID laws and producing great content. There are a lot of new people coming into wrestling who have the mindset of this is a business, let's treat it as such and let's treat people well.
yeah.
And I think that's wonderful and important and finally is moving the way we need to go. It's a slow process, because you still see people who are not great being booked on TV, being problematic,
Yep.
pouring gasoline on the fires when their own gasoline draws are soaked. But these are the things that will one. It takes time, and so I'm optimistic that with time, that will continue to be weeded out. That we as wrestlers, and we as fans, we as those who love this amazing, magnificent art, will take the business back. But not back in the sense of going back to the old ways it was done, but take it back in the sense that it belongs to us because we love it and we care for it and we want to protect it. So, that's the soapbox for the day, Sorg.
I was waiting for one. I was waiting for one. And by the way, if we've had Ronnie on the Fight Underground live streams that we've been doing, similar to what we do with this show. And there was a series of them that we did amongst all the crazy stuff that was happening last year, and all the movements and all the negativity in wrestling that was happening. And I think every time we had Ronnie on, I was just like, well, I just want to take this 5 minutes that Ronnie just talked and just put it out into the world. And I recommend going back, and anytime she was on was fantastic. And I just want to say I appreciate that, your contributions to those.
Oh, thank you, Sorry. Well, my job in life, not just in wrestling, I feel, is to help be a light in the darkness. You know, so
Absolutely.
wherever I am, I want to spread that love. I want to spread that light. I want people to know that there is hope because that is the weapon. The belief in hope, the faith in hope, the strength of hope. That is the weapon. Never feel hopeless. Never feel like something can't be done because your belief, your action in putting that belief into the world, it definitely will always yield the results you want. It will always be something good. And I'm hoping that 2021 we have more people who kind of rally together and do that same thing. And as wrestling comes back, into 21, into 22, we can have a better business for everybody to participate and enjoy. So.
Fantastic. Well, if anybody wants to follow that light, where can they do that on social media with you?
Check me out on Snapchat, Roni Nicole R. You can email me for bookings, appearances, speaking engagements at RoniNicoleR@gmail.com. I am on Instagram at Glitterlicious Bang Bang, and I'm on Twitter at Glitterlicious. Thank you guys so much
Awesome.
for having me. Sorg, you may be a tricky something sometimes, but I do love you. So thank you for having
Thank, thank you so much. And I just added you on Snapchat. I didn't know you were on there. I'm trying to Snapchat. So
Got you. I will add you back. Yeah.
thank you so much. Again, you'll see her. Look up Roni Nicole over at IndyWrestling.us. You'll find her in action there, as well as especially on our YouTube page. A lot of bits from that as well. For IndyWrestling.us, of course, and of course check out Fight Underground, and she of course will be a part of that in the future. There it is. Thank you guys so much, and until next time, take care of each other, and please support indie wrestling.
Hungry as fuck, but I ain't starving yet. Chain for the pain, cocktail bar set. Never said I was a gangster or thug, but I'm an animal. Beating for the taste of the floor.
This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at sorgatronmedia.com.